Good evening. Ira Epstein with your SPDR ETF wrap-up for this week ended of March 6th, or actually March 4th, because today's the beginning of a new week. I'm putting this out Sunday night, March 6th. It's about 6:30 p.m. I've had the opportunity to see crude oil already explode up, $18 a barrel higher. That's one of the markets. Gold taking off to the upside, the stock market getting beaten up. The Ukrainian situation's entering, its 12th day now of fighting. It's no better off than it was at the beginning, with one exception. Now, Putin is killing citizens left and right. It's indiscriminate. He just goes in, you got a village, we're going to take it down. They don't warn you, they just blow it up, you die. They'll say they have a corridor, bring your people in, just like in the days of old, when Moses crossed the Red Sea. Let the sea just get them. In other words, no, we changed our mind. Now everybody dies that makes a run towards that. So I'm putting the biblical part on. It's extreme. I know it. So don't write me about it. But do you get the point? You yelled at me. People, they were writing me when I said Putin's the equivalent of Hitler. He's doing genocide. He's going to take people out. It's not the same, and I get it. Not, by the way, everybody that killed by Hitler was a Jew. How many Poles? I can go on down the road. If you weren't of the Aryan race at that point, that was it. Well, this is about a new map. This is about going back 100 years in time and saying, we want back our countries. I'm redrawing the map. Problem is, there's NATO. In terms of size of army, armaments, GDPs, NATO dwarfs Russia. If you think that it's a battle, it is no battle. They are showing fabulous restraint, and they should. We don't need a third world war. On the other hand, it's time to give the jets and everything to the Ukrainian people, if they can fly them. I don't know where they'd house them to keep everything safe. Maybe they need better missiles to shoot down more of the Russian jets and so on. But I'm impressed. I was wrong. I thought the Ukrainians would cave in. I'm so wrong. Scale 1 to 10, a 10. When you're wrong, admit you're wrong. These are rough people. I'm proud. I have nothing to do with Ukraine and my heritage or anything, but it makes me proud to see a people fight like that. So where do we go with the markets with that? Okay. This is XME. My favorite two trades of the year, and I said it in December on TV stations, because everybody wants to know what you think. I said, I like XME and I like copper. And they go, you don't like banking? And I said, no, those are my two favorites. And unlike so many that write reports, it's got to go up here and that. First off, the reason that I liked it had nothing to do with Ukraine. I missed that completely. I thought COVID would end, and the world, as it ends, they're going back to work. The factories are going to hum. You got to fill the supply chains. That's going to be all the metal markets. That's what I thought. Well, the war has done even more. It just put it into an accelerated phase, up 14% this past week. Higher lows, higher highs, off to the races. You'll see the sideways action and why I was bullish in a moment here. Higher low, higher high over the 18-week average, which is over the 100, which is over the 200. I got all the bull parts I want, but I don't tell you to ever buy over an upper Bollinger Band. Not fresh. Look at this sideways action. This is what I was basing my whole thing on. Take you into the first of the year, right through here. I looked at this and said, it's either a top, sideways, coming down, or a bottom. And then my analysis had to do with COVID. I didn't see the Ukrainian situation at all. And as it turns out, you challenged the low, and then everything happened about Ukraine. And since then, it's just been off to the races, right? Okay. When we take a look at the momentum, upward, trend up, over the band, I would teach you not to buy over an upper Bollinger Band. You're either in it or you missed it. Now, KBE's been under pressure because the traditionalists use a 2 10-year curve yield as they look at the market, and they try to figure out, okay, if it's wide enough, the banks will borrow up to 2 years. Zach Investments wrote a great piece this week. And in their investment analysis, they were saying it's wrong to use the 2-year. Most banks borrow in their analysis. I didn't say I agree or disagree. For a 2 and 3 month period, and they lend out for long periods of time. So they think a better analysis is the 2 or 3 month versus this. Well, then this chart doesn't make sense. You should be going up on their analysis because the curve yield would be extremely different, right? Possibly. Whatever the case, this market doesn't look good because anyway I look at the curve yield during a wartime event, right now, too much pressure on the market. They're going to keep things very, very tight. And the Fed's in a rock and a hard place, and so are the other central bankers. Inflation is running away on them. You're up $10, $12 tonight in crude oil. I'm not a fool. I had to go out to Indiana yesterday morning to my in-law. And to make a long story short, it's just around the lake. It's a 45-minute drive, and it's fun to do it, especially early in the morning. And I'm looking at my car, and I knew I'd have to fill up. I looked at the price in Chicago, and then as I got into where I was going in Indiana, I cracked up. 81-cent difference a gallon. You know, if I could have put it in my trunk, I would have. But you can see how the market doing this. You wait, you're going to see the prices this week jump. You're going to be shocked on your fuel prices. On the energy sector, up and away, but you don't buy over an upper Bollinger Band. Embedded, powerful, not over by any stretch of the imagination. SPY, it's very difficult to want to be long stocks here. Everything's working against them. I mean, you've got a Fed that wants to raise interest rates. You've got inflation. You've got pricing power. I don't know how much you can pass on of this, and the more you're raising prices, you start losing your client. They start going, they balk at it. That's what I think you could have going on here. EEM, by the way, you can talk to me all the wage pressure you want. These prices are running at a pace that makes the wage increase look ridiculous. It's like you never got an increase. Now, this has, to me, got me a little concerned. You finally got under, this week, the 200-day average. Now, why is this down? Well, first off, Russia, part of the emerging market indices around the world, their stock market hasn't been open in a week. Their finances are in ruin. That's the right word to use for it. Those that can get out are finding that if they can get out, they're getting out at a penny on the dollar of many of these things. I read this weekend how some brokerage firms have just blown out people that bought Russian stocks and they weren't on margin call. These people paid cash and the firms blew them out. I don't understand that. Again, I've only done this 53 years. I've owned stock firms. I certainly have owned commodity firms. I run a commodity firm division. And to make a long story short, I've never seen that if you own the stock outright, that a firm has a right, a brokerage firm in the United States, to take you out of the market. Something's not right there from everything I read. I don't know what it is, and I don't know everything. In the gold market, you're up and away. Now, this is a big base now. I mean, now you can define it. And what else can you define? You haven't had a breakout. Now, you're going to say, Ira, what are you talking about? Look at it. And you're right, but you're wrong. To get a breakout, normally, you have two moves over the upper Bollinger Band or lower one, where you close in the bottom. If it's a breakout upside, close in the top quadrant the way you did just right here. And the next week you're higher and you close in the top quadrant outside of the Bollinger Band again. That would be a breakout. Instead, this market fell back and is now coming up. As a chartist, it's just over the upper band, but I do think a major base is formed in the gold market for a while here. Gold miners, they're looking at the price of gold. How are they going to sit back? And they, too, didn't have a breakout to the upside on my definition. ARK, okay. Kathy Wood's investments are now down to $60. So peaked out at 160, what was it, a year ago? January a year ago, not this January. And ever since then, it's down 2/3 in value almost. Amazon, coming down, getting hit on all fronts now. And as you can see, pressure could carry it to the 2782 level. Trend down, bias down, hits the band, bounces, and stays without giving any signal at this point that it wants to turn around. I think that was it in Apple on the rally. On a weekly basis, this is where I think the pros on this rally back from that low are going short. Stops over that high, looking for the 150.14 level. By the way, joining Apple, so many fabulous U.S. companies. Visa, MasterCard, American Express. Can't do business in Russia anymore. They've all pulled out. I'm embarrassed that Coca-Cola is still doing business there. Here's a mainstay. When I think of a soft drink in America, it's Coca-Cola. And they're still doing business there? Send your message. Come on, it's not about dollars. Tesla, still coming down all the way to the lower band level. Still looks to me a bit lower here. I had a friend that just went and looked at the new Rivian because he's got one on order, and they called him and they said it's ready. So he's in Phoenix, and I'm going to be there, so I'm going to go see the car as well. Can't wait to see it. Remember, it's got 1,000 horsepower, and it's crazy, and they're ready to build his and deliver it to him. So it should be interesting. Their competition is coming on board fast and furious. So whatever market share they have, which is the lion's share of the electric car industry, it's going to be whittled down. You know, you're going to get a lot of competition. They'll still be the kingpin, but they're going to see it down, and I think the market's realizing that, and that's why Tesla's selling off. TLT, the market is still overall in a bear campaign. Lower highs, lower lows, but when you go to the daily charts, they just are going up because traders are buying as a safe haven. This is going to be a rough road. The Fed is going to raise interest rates, folks. They have to do it in a way to not put us into a recession. They have to balance the war and the inflation now, and inflation's going to be rampant at home. Can you imagine these new inflation numbers? Wheat prices through the roof. Every other grain gone bonkers, all right? Metal markets gone through the roof. Everything we're buying is gone through the roof. I go in the restaurants, they've got prices crossed off. I'll give you an example. A skirt steak and eggs used to be $14.95. Then they took it to $16.95 at my favorite place. Today it's $18.95. Just gives you an idea what it's doing. So you put that all together, you understand what the Fed's hand is on this, and the Fed can't get too far. They've got to raise rates, but they can't do it in such a manner to smash the economy down when everything around it is going on yet. Their only tool to fight inflation is interest rates and the balance sheet, that they can run that off as well. They don't really have a choice. Employment? They beat employment. They got it done. They just got 700 and some odd thousand jobs. They got a 3.8% unemployment rate. So that's what you're going to fight, and remember that. I want to remind you, if you're interested in my data, all the other products that we put out, go to my website, www.iraepstein.com, under the word research and education if you want to see my courses. I think if you haven't learned Bollinger Bands by now, learn it. I've got a new course that'll be coming out. I think it'll be in the month of March. I'm taking off a week now, so that'll put it back a little. But it'll be about one of the most popular and common setups on a chart, outside days. How do you work with them? I think I'll open your eyes up the way that I did on Bollinger Bands. In the meantime, I will see you all March 14th. That is a week from Monday. Trade well.